Hi everyone, hello, how are you doing? I hope you are doing good. So welcome to another video of Control and Coordination, Chapter 9. In this video, we will be talking about the specific receptor that is eye and ear in the coming video. In previous video, we have talked about, we concluded the spinal cord, the peripheral nervous system, and then also we saw the different types of sensory receptors, the phonoreceptors, gustatoreceptors, baroreceptors, okay? Out of all the receptors, we have to learn eye and ear in detail. So we begin with eye first, okay? So beginning with we are going to see the different structures of the eye and what role do they play, what function do they have in image formation. Uh, General function of the eye, we are aware of that the eye is helping us to see, for vision, for creation of image, okay? Now beginning with the fluid part of the eye. So the eye is mostly fluid in a portion. So the lens divides the eye into two different types of fluid. The fluid which is in the front, which is known as the aqueous humor, as you see, and then the fluid which is here, okay, you see the arrow, this is the vitreous humor. So the eye consists of two fluid-filled cavities, which is separated by a lens, which is here, okay. The front part is the anterior, which is the aqueous humor, this one, and the back, okay, after the lens, this fluid is known as the vitreous humor. General function of this fluid, the aqueous and the vitreous, is to maintain the shape of the eyeball, okay, to maintain the shape of the eyeball. Also, the function of the vitreous humor is to provide nourishment to the eye. Okay, so general function, the main function is for the shape of the eyeball and to provide nourishment to the eye. Okay, these are clear fluid which helps in maintaining the shape of the eye. Then you have the lens in the center over here. All of you must be aware that what is lens responsible for creating a proper sharp image. Okay, then you must be aware of the focal point and how the focus, when the focal point is reached with the help of the lens, then a sharp image, clear image is formed. Okay, in physics, you might have done various experiments regarding the lens, the focal point, and all that stuff. Okay, so the lens is attached to the ciliary muscles, which can contract or relax to change the focus of the lens. Okay, so the lens is the part of the eye which helps in image formation. Okay, and this image formation is done by achieving the focal point of the object. Okay, so this adjustment of the lens to create a proper clear image has also to do with the ciliary muscles. Okay, you see here ciliary body over here, and over here, and you see these fiber like thread like structure coming out. So the ciliary body, the ciliary muscles will help in contraction or relaxation of the lens to adjust the focal point of the object, and accordingly the image will be formed. Okay, then you have the pupil, which will allow, so the pupil is over here. This pupil will allow the entry of the light. This pupil is the gate or the entry of the light, okay, through which the light will enter and it will fall further on different parts of the eye. Okay, so the amount of light that is entering the pupil via the pupil, this is controlled by iris. So contraction and dilation of the iris will determine how much light will come in via pupil and how much light will not come in via pupil. Okay, so let's locate the iris over here. I don't know if it is, yeah. So this is the iris, you see this portion. Yes, I am labeling. It's there. So this is the iris. So iris will be like, guard over here, which will allow which will, decide how much the gate should open and how much the gate should be closed. And what is the gate? The pupil is the gate, which will allow the entry of the light. So kitna light aana chahiye, kitna light nahi aana chahiye, that will be the function of the iris. And the passage via which the light will enter, that is the pupil, and it will fall onto the lens. And the lens will adjust its focus, its focal point of the image to be formed. And that adjustment is brought about by the ciliary body. Okay, you see there are all these structures, how they are coordinated for production of the image. Yes, Then the exposed portion of the eye is coated by a transparent layer which is known as cornea. Okay, so this you see this, the outermost covering, this is your cornea. I'll just, yeah, cornea. Yes, this is again a fluid which coats the entire eye. Which coats the entire eye. This is also basically actually the very first gate which will allow the entry of the light. And then the actual gate is the pupil. Okay, so first the light will enter the cornea and then the pupil will decide how much light will go in and how much will not. Okay, the entire structure is lubricated by this fluid, a layer which is very transparent and thin fluid, which is known as conjunctiva. Now, conjunctiva will serve as an immune entity of the eye. It will produce tears, it will produce water, okay, and this will have some immune cells which will help prevent any kind of infection occurring in the eye. So it will keep the foreign antigens at bay. Okay, it will not. It will try to prevent their entry into the eye. So this sort of helps in lubrication of the eye by producing tear, and also it has immune cells protecting the eye from any kind of infection. Okay, so we have understood now what is cornea, its function, what is iris, what is pupil, what is aqueous humor and its function, lens, vitreous humor, ciliary body. Okay, now we move to the layers, which are the sclera, choroid, and retina, three membranes of the eye. Okay, so the first, you have three internal surfaces of the eye, like outer membrane, middle membrane, and inner membrane. Just imagine any object any organ that we discuss in biology, you have outer membrane, middle membrane, inner membrane, same like that. The outermost is the sclera, okay? The middle is the choroid, and the innermost is your retina. Okay, again, sclera will act as what? It will act as a entry point of the light. Yes, choroid will be the middle layer, which will have all the blood vessels, which will have the blood vessels connection. Why blood vessels? Because the nutrients has to be supplied to the eye also for its functioning. Yes, so all the nutrients and waste products exchange, gases exchange will happen with the help of blood vessels. So that blood vessel supply will be there in the choroid middle layer. So choroid layer will bring in the connection of the blood vessels to the eye. And finally, you have the retina. This yellow portion is the retina. This you see, these tubings also, that's the choroid, and the outermost is the sclera. Okay. So retina is the actual place where the image will be formed. As in, not image, yeah, the image will be formed. Basically, the retina will have the cells, okay? They are known as specifically the pigments, okay? Eye pigments, which will help in formation of the image, and the signal will be transferred or transmitted to the brain, and accordingly the image will be formed. Okay, so three layers: sclera, choroid, and retina. The region of the retina is responsible for the vision, for image, for sharpish vision, wherever the focal point will be met. Okay, and this is where fossa centralis. Okay, so fossa centralis will be the place where the actual image will be formed, visual field, as you see over here, fovea. Yeah, that is a part near the retina itself. Okay, nerve signals, what will happen? The eye first crosses the cornea, then the pupil. The iris will control the amount of light entering the pupil. So let's say if there is a lot of sunlight, so the your when there's a sunny day, a lot of sunlight is there, so you kind of change your eye movements, and when there is darkness you try to open your eyes wide. So that is basically contraction and dilation of the eye of the pupil of the lens, is brought about by iris and the ciliary body. Then it passes through the lens and through the and to the retina. There are the pigments which will get activated, and then we are going to see this in the next slide. So the nerve signals from the retina will be sent via an optic nerve. You see over here, obviously the neurons will be in connection with the eye, which will send the nerve impulse to the brain, and the brain will create an image of the external stimulus, external vision. Okay, in the specific region of the vision region of the brain. Fine. So that we're going to see in a brief detail in the next slide. Yes. First, we will understand the photoreceptors which are present in the retina. So you have two photoreceptors, the rods and the cone. The purple one that you see is the rod, and the green one you see is the cone. What are these photoreceptors? These are pigments, or these are what you say entities, parts of the retina which will which will take in the light. And once they take light, once they receive light, they get activated, they receive, they generate an electrical impulse. So the light energy gets converted into electrical energy, and that is how the signal is sent to the neurons, and the neurons will send it to the optic nerve, and the optic nerve sends via the neurons to the brain for the image formation. Okay, so this is how the pigment looks like, the rod and the cone. You see the outer segment, inner segment, and the connection to the neuron, which is via the synaptic vesicles. Nucleus you have over here, then you have the mitochondria, yeah, all these things. And talking about the rod, they are sensitive to dim light, so they get activated when there is dim light. They are responsible for distinguishing between gray shades of gray, like gray, black, different shades of gray, different shades of black, not color, only black and white grayish. They use light absorbing pigment, rhodopsin. Okay. Cones, they are sensitive to bright light. They get activated by bright light. So they will be able to distinguish between different colors like blue, red, green, etc., etc. So depending upon that, they have different types of. I have blue cones, red cones, green cones, etc. They use three types of pigment, which are known as photopsin. So blue ones, red ones, and green ones, and different colors depending upon which photopsin is activated. So the color will be distinguished. So you have rod and cone, which are the receptors of light. Rods are one which will get activated when dim light is coming, and when bright light is coming in, so cone will be activated. Okay, this is how an image will be generated in brief, in a brief flow chart that we will just go through now. So step number one, first what will happen? Changes in the retina when light falls on it. What changes will occur? Light will fall on the rod and the cone cells of the retina. This will cause what? The breaking of the pigments, basically activation of the pigments, which causes the breaking of these pigments. Okay, light sensitive pigments by specific wavelength of light. So depending upon what pigments, what wavelength are getting activated, so they will absorb that particular wavelength of light. Okay, then the rods and the cone cell will get activated, will get stimulated. And what is the outcome of the stimulation? Generation of the nerve impulse, the generation of the electrical impulse. This signal or this impulse will be transmitted to the nerve cells. Remember, we were talking about the different types of nerve cells, unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. So we also we mentioned that bipolar nerve cells will are found where? In the retina of the eye. Remember, bipolar, they have one cell body, and like this they are. Okay, they have one axon and one dendrite on the opposite sides. So that is why they are bipolar. One axon, one dendrite on both the sides, on opposite sides, and one cell body. Okay, so that is why they are known as bipolar. Two. They have two on opposite side. They have axons extension. So the nerve impulse will be transmitted to the bipolar nerve cells, also to the ganglion cells. Okay, the ganglion cells we have discussed in this detail, the oligo, the astrocytes, the Schwann cells, the ganglia cells, okay, the macroglial cells, all those type of cells surrounding and helping the neuron in achieving its function. Then the nerve impulse in the axon of these ganglion cells will converge and leave via the optic nerve. So all of them will come together, and once they are in the optic nerve, they will their work is done. Now the further transmission and conduction of the nerve impulse will be brought about by the optic nerve. Will be brought about by the optic nerve, and then this optic nerve is directly in connection to the brain, and the signal is sent to the brain, and the brain will form the image. The perception of the image will be formed in the brain, in where we have discussed the different regions, that this region is responsible for vision, olfactory is for smell. Okay, so the visual area of the cerebrum will generate the image, and that is how the vision is created. Okay, so this is just brief layout. Many details are there to this, which is not required at your level, which is not there in your syllabus. Just an understanding briefly how the light enters the body and what is the course of action of the vision formation. Light entering it, retina changes, then the photoreceptors accepts the light, and they create certain changes in the, basically depending upon the wavelength of the light, they will activate that particular pigments. Okay, the rod cells and the cone cells. Then they will generate the nerve impulse, the electrical signal or the nerve signal. Then the signal is transmitted to the nerves, bipolar nerves, ganglion cell, and further they will transfer it to the optic nerve, which will then directly connect the brain. Okay, so here you see the representation also. Nerve fibers. Okay, you have the ganglion, bipolar cells, the cone cells, the rod cells, the choroid and the sclera. You see all this. Okay, and the light you see over here. So that's all regarding the generation of the image. So that's all with respect to the sensory receptor eye. In the next video, we will be talking about ear in detail. Okay, so thank you. Take care. Keep revising. See you in the next video.